I'm Andrew Cuomo. And unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that the Democratic primary did not go the way I had hoped. But as my grandfather used to say, when you get knocked down, learn the lesson and pick yourself back up and get in the game. And that is what I'm going to do. The fight to save our city isn't over. Only 13% of New Yorkers voted in the June primary. The general election is in November, and I am in it to win it.
Sounded like he was being held at gunpoint, forced to read a teleprompter of a copy that he had never seen before, didn't it? Unless you have been living under a rock. As my grandfather used to say, we better have the money by tomorrow, or something bad might happen to your business, and we'd hate to see that. And how about some nice olive oil for your home kitchen? Yeah, that's right. You know how it goes. That's his grandfather, Cosa Nostra. The Cuomo Nostra. Is he widely known as the Cuomo Nostra? I think that would be appropriate, don't you? The Cuomo Nostra. Well, very good Tuesday to you once again, and welcome back. I've got to say, I'm gonna say it out loud, even though I shouldn't. My best girl and I were getting on an airplane tonight. We're flying to Iceland, where the weather is nice and cool. I wonder what they do about that feels like thing. You know, it's 60 degrees, but it feels like 60 degrees. I'm thinking maybe in Iceland, the feels like is going to be a lot like the actual temperature. I think that'd be fun, don't you? I do. But that is Cuomo, of course. And we were just playing. We got two. I've had more than enough of that family just in the last 10 minutes. We had Fredo Cuomo on News Nation talking to Alan Dershowitz about the Jeffrey Epstein files, such as they are, and the Jeffrey Epstein list. And Alan Dershowitz, who's no slacker, no slouch, and I don't think of him as a liar or anything. He said that in an interview more than a month ago, we played the audio yesterday, saying that, he saw the names, but there's not technically a list. And now we're dancing on the head of a pin over the semantics of what constitutes a list. You know, a group of names not arrayed in a linear fashion is not a list. So now we're having that kind of, Harvard Law School semantic hoo-ha. And the Democrats suddenly have some interest in this, and I think they should be made to pay. Made to pay. It's a very silly town, a very silly business, full of ridiculous things. But then the next Cuomo to pop up, talking about his grandpa, who he was in the protection rackets, right? The protections rackets, and businesses got to pay up, otherwise something terrible might happen to their business. And the old people in the old folks' home during the Wuhan, because Andrew Cuomo launches independent New York City mayoral bid after his loss to Zorhan Mamdani. And this guy, Zorhan Mamdani, who won the Democratic primary, he's really a piece of work, that guy. Just amazing stuff. So, in any event, Andrew Cuomo, he lost the primary to Zorhan Mamdani because they want a global intifada against the Jewish people, and they want civil war in the United States of America, and not only legal heroin in New York City, but free legal heroin and grocery stores run by the state because it worked well by the city of New York, by the government, because it worked so well in the Soviet Union that they want to try it here in the United States because they're not on our side. And Andrew Cuomo announced his third-party run for New York City mayor, setting up rematch against Zorhan Mamdani. The New York Post headline, critics blast loser Andrew Cuomo as he's set for independent run. And the giant headline in the New York Post today is, just Quo away. C-U-O. Just Quo away. That's short for Cuomo for the Democrats listening along. Just amazing. Mamdani, oh, this is good. Mamdani blames Trump policies for New York City tourism decline. Isn't that amazing? The decline in tourism. Gee, why would there be a decline in tourism in New York City? I can't imagine. And Mamdani then blames Trump because he says, oh, yeah, it's Trump's fault that people aren't coming to New York City anymore because all the other people that came have been murdered. You know, all the tourists murdered. But this guy, he is just amazing, Zorhan Mamdani, blaming Trump. We have some audio of Zorhan Mamdani, and it's all Trump's fault because he's a crime in New York City and had the illegal alien set that woman on fire on the New York City subway train. And we had, what's the nice young Marine's name who tried to stop the crazy psycho? Daniel Penny. And then the city tried to lynch him. President Trump was on trial there, and a Democrat self-immolated outside of the courthouse and killed himself by setting himself on fire because there are a lot of Democrat suicide attacks, But Zorhan Mamdani blaming Trump for people not visiting New York City. You know, come, see a play, set yourself on fire, or one of our people will set you on fire.
As we fight back against an authoritarian administration and Donald Trump's attempt at ripping up the very fabric of the city that we call home, of the country that we belong to and that we love.
Hasn't touched New York.
We know that his
you hate
policies,
America.
They are not just disappearing our neighbors, detaining our friends. They are also turning the world away from our city.
No, that's not it. That's once again, Democrats, they've got an opinion on everything, and they're always wrong. Of course, he's a jihadi, genocidal. He's calling for a global intifada against the Jewish people, the state of Israel and the Jewish people, wipe Israel off the map from the river to the sea. He wants to defund the police, empty the prisons and jails so that all of the convicted criminals and incarcerated and detained criminals are thrown back out on the streets. And that's why nobody's going to your beephole city because, you know, New York, it's a town that is hell. The crime rate is up and the economy's down. New York. Wah, 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 wah. And Mamdani, he's badly got to fight back against this authoritarian administration because, you know, it's his policies that the people that are the fabric of the city that we call home. You mean the illegal alien gang members that have flooded in by the millions and all of the crime and the mayhem and from the murders and the immolations on the subway? It wasn't even a self-immolation. It was Democrat. I think it was an illegal alien that set that woman on fire and killed her on a New York City subway train. It's like a nightmare, New York City these days. It's Escape from New York. It's Taxi Driver. And Robert De Niro still lives there. I think he's driving a cab at night. Zorhan Mamdani.
The rapid decline of tourists coming to this city is an issue not simply for us living up to our word as a city that welcomes the world.
Yes, it is.
But it's one that has very real economic impacts. And so I will be proud to be the mayor of this city, to stand up for this city, and to make it clear that the world is welcome in this city, and that we need to turn the page on this federal administration that is looking to inspire fear among people across this country and across this world when they come to think of who we are and what we are.
Stop shooting people. That might reduce the amount of fear that people have. Stop throwing people in front of subway trains. Stop releasing severely mentally ill people to ride the subways and terrorize old women. And when a young man, a Marine, steps in to defend and protect civilization, you try to lynch him. Stop setting fire to people on subway trains. The crime, the mayhem, the homelessness, the illegal aliens, they've taken over major hotels. That's why when they end up in this detention facility in the tent and Alligator Alcatraz, like, oh no, they've got a sink on top of the toilet, just like on an Amtrak train. Isn't that great? We had a great a corrections officer call in yesterday and said, you know, all these idiot Democrat members of Congress, and who we had Debbie Was-A-Man Schnitz yesterday, railing, oh no, they brush their teeth.
They brush their teeth where they poop.
Yeah. as does everyone in every bathroom in Western civilization. Isn't it amazing? And were you looking up the fire person on the train? Was it an illegal alien? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's hard to say. So many illegal aliens, so many crimes, so little time. Democrat Party responsible for every one of them, every single one. And then Andrew Cuomo, he when he's not busy making sure that elderly people die because of his policies and the Wuhan Red Death, and then lying about it, and then writing a book. Didn't he get the Nobel Peace Prize for his book, Full of Lies, or something? I think he got a Pulitzer Prize, or he got a multi-million-dollar contract for something. The Democrat Party is the most corrupt institution. Man, oh, man. And the media is part of it. All right, so Andrew Cuomo, talking about his grandfather, who ran the protections rackets in Lower Manhattan for years. And Andrew Cuomo, he's going to run. He's going to run against everybody.
My opponent, Mr. Mamdani, offers slick slogans, but no real solutions. You deserve a mayor with the experience and ideas and the guts to take on anyone who stands in the way.
Yeah, stands in the way. I'd vote for Curtis Sliwa. I'd like to see Curtis Sliwa take over. And Mayor Eric Adams, he's running as well. And he's the current mayor, and nobody even talks about him because they're so racist. And just amazing times. New York City. Gee, why would the tourism be down in New York City? Can't believe it. I don't know, why would tourism be down in L.A.? I bet it's down in L.A., too. Now, since we're talking about Zorhan Mamdani and the communist jihadi, genocidal, global intifada, world war, whatever number you'd like to attach to it, that the Democrat mayoral candidate in New York City is pushing for. Turns out Mamdani, he's got a father. And I told you about his mother is like a Hollywood filmmaker or something who worked with Denzel. And he's oppressed, Uganda and South Africa until he was 7 years old. And then Zorhan Mamdani moved to the Upper West Side of Manhattan when he was 7 years old, being oppressed by, the terrible racist world with his filmmaker mother and his college professor father. Mamdani's father sits on council of anti-Israel group tied to terror, legitimizes role of suicide bombers. Mahmoud Mamdani, that's the father of old Zorhan Mamdani here, wrote in his book that suicide bombers shouldn't be stigmatized as a mark of barbarism. No, it's the very apex of civilization. If you're a savage, a blood-drenched savage. But Mahmoud Mamdani, the father of socialist New York City mayoral candidate Zorhan Mamdani, sits on the advisory council of an anti-Israel organization that supports boycotts and sanctions of Israel, routinely accuses the Israeli government of committing genocide, and has expressed sympathy for suicide bombers. I remember sitting around the Thanksgiving dinner table with the family, and Dad would go on and on about how great suicide bombers are. That's not right. That reminds me, though, that my actual father, who had died when I was a little baby, his aircraft carrier was hit by a kamikaze at Okinawa. That was a suicide bomber. So I know he wouldn't be in favor of that. My stepfather, a news guy, sitting at the dinner table, never advocated. He spent time in Iran for the revolution there in 1979 and Lebanon for war there, Israel for war there. He never advocated for suicide bombing. The Gaza Tribunal, founded in London in 2024, says its primary goal is to awaken civil society to its responsible and opportunity to stop Israel's genocide in Gaza. This is he's raised by a terrorist, a genocidal terrorist, and Jewish liberals in New York voted for him in the primary because every day is an IQ test. The big wireless companies are pulling one over on all of us. It's time to make the switch to consumer cellular. I've got my consumer cellular phone. It's great. Get the same big wireless nationwide coverage without the big wireless cost, the money. It's not just about saving money on your bill every month, though. It's also about not being used and abused by these big cell phone carriers. You probably don't know how much data you use every month. Most people over 50 use less than 8 gigs of data in a month. But Big Wireless, they always shove you into an unlimited plan because they need you to offset to cover the cost of younger people who use 10 times the amount of data that you use. And, if you're not using all your data, then you are the one being used and abused. Listen, you probably had enough of that. Time to go to Consumer Cellular. They set me up with a service and a phone, an amazing phone to try. And it was easy to switch. Listen to this. You call, you speak to an actual human being, not a robot, not a recording, not pushing 8 for anything. The person you talk to is based right here in the United States, not on a space platform. They're actually helpful. Only takes about 20 minutes to make the switch. You save a lot of cash, and it's good stuff. So give them a call today and make the switch. Call 1-800-760-0702. That's 800-760-0702. Yeah, Zorhan. Nice family. Comes from a nice family. If you're the Bin Laden household.
They brush their teeth where they poop.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. That's right. It's that sea cruise time of year. All right, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Greg, calling from Topeka, Kansas. Gregory, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thanks, Mr. Plant, for taking my call.
You betcha.
I talked to you before, but off the subject, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, when I talk about conditions, I'd like to see her go on a warship in the South Pacific, especially during refresher training, and see how we lived on board a ship when she wants to talk about cramped conditions. I'd like to see her do that.
And the comfort of, you say you're responding, we played the soundbite a minute ago, Congressman Debbie Wasserman Schultz saying that in the detention facility, they have to brush their teeth where...
They brush their teeth where they poop.
Yeah. How does that strike you, Greg?
I could only, in the Navy, you could only dream of having as much room as they have in a cell in a state prison, because I also worked at the state prison, but we didn't have room,
Well, yeah, and I got to tell you saw, Greg, the huge, gigantic white tent that they're in with 20-foot ceilings, and oh, no, they're cages. Well, they're chain-link fences you can see right through, because it's a detention facility. Every time you find yourself face down with handcuffs on, everything's about to change. Ah, yes. Now, the Democrats, they like shooting people. They like being racists. They like foreign gangs. When I say foreign, I mean from other countries. That's a word in the English language. The Democrats, they're afraid of that. No, international gangs. Yeah, these foreign gangs are international gangs, too. How about that? But they love crime and shootings and violence and gangs. They're the Democrat Party. They're a danger to civilization. They're here to take down the United States of America. They're the left. They're not liberals. And let me share with you what happened last night on CNN, because I know you weren't watching. I know that because nobody was. But they have a show apparently called News Night. And they've got some dishonest people, Abby Phillip and Anna Navarro, and they love being victims and crying and pouting. Oh, the world's mean to me because I'm racist, something like that. And last night on News Nation, there was a guy on named Brad Palumbo. Brad Palumbo, nice Italian name. He was on there as a guest. And Anna Navarro, who pretends to be Latinx or something, she was railing about, how Trump is a terrorist and he's been shot. It was like on the 1 year anniversary of Trump being shot, I think, through the ear in Butler, Pennsylvania. But this is Ana Navarro on Newsnight with a man named Brad Palumbo, who had enough of her hooey, and he's being perfectly polite and everything, but he had enough of her hooey, and it started a little victim playground. You know, it's like kids at McDonald's. They have those, what do they call those, ball things? The ball pit. Yeah, the ball pit. This is like liberal Democrat adult ball pit, where they come in and say, I'm a victim because of my genitalia and my grandparents had a vowel on the end of their name, so I'm a multi-millionaire making 7 figures on TV for being an idiot, and still they're victims. You know, they're going to die victims. Their last breath will be, poor me, poor me. So here's Newsnight last night on CNN. Ana Navarro, Brad Palumbo.
There were protests in thousands of cities defying
No, there weren't.
The fear, defying the reign of terror and retribution that Donald Trump is trying to impose on America.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think you're definitely being hyperbolic. You talk about a reign of terror. When the doomsday alarm from Democrats or from media critics is always at a 10, it doesn't hit the same, honestly.
That's a perfectly good point. You know, if everything is Hitler, fascist, Nazis, threat to democracy, every time, and it's like, he just ordered a salad. You know, I mean, he's getting lunch. It's the end of everything. And then you guys are the ones shooting federal law enforcement, firebombing the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania, self-immolating and killing yourselves at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. You guys are the ones supporting the child slave labor working at marijuana farms in Southern California. And when the cops show up, the cops are the bad guys because you like slavery. They're still the party of the bullwhip and slavery and the plantation, the Confederate States of America and Jefferson Davis. And they love child slave labor more than adult slave labor, I think. They seem to like the child slave labor more. And when they had 14 child slaves at the marijuana fields in California, so their voters can get super stoned on, you know, the world's most potent marijuana and then end up voting for Democrats. And this guy, Brad Palumbo, sounds perfectly normal and comfortable in his skin. He's like, you know, listen, if everything is always at 10, then it kind of stops having the desired effect, I think, which is why they have to firebomb places and shoot people, which the Democrat Party does a great deal of. And I'm not talking about the everyday Democrats shooting their neighbors in Washington, D.C., which they do multiple times a day, and shooting 3-year-old girls to death sitting in their cars, which the Democrats did. Well, I think was that on the 4th of July? Well, that was the Mother's Day killing the baby, too. That's all fine. The Democrats pay no attention to that. Ana Navarro never had any anxiety over that. But here's Ana Navarro, and talking to the one normal person, Brad Palumbo, who it sounds like you could sit around and talk to this guy.
Also, I want to respond to you saying that I was hyperbolic when I talked about a reign of terror.
That is hyperbolic.
No, it might be hyperbolic for you as a white man.
Oh, okay.
It's certainly not hyperbolic for me as a Latino. No, I'm not being racist.
It's incredible to dismiss my opinion for being a white
man.
No,
I'm not dismissing your opinion. I am telling you that what the Latino community, the brown community in America.
Speak in one voice.
Okay, well, let me speak with my voice. I mean, you said I was being hyperbolic. Let me respond.
Racially, sure.
I'm not. You being a white man as an insult?
When you invoke it to dismiss my
being
opinion,
a white man as an insult?
When you invoke it to dismiss my opinion, they don't listen. They don't learn. She's a low IQ Latina. Is that a Latinx? Which one is she? Latina. That's a gendered language. Spanish. Latina. That's a woman. Latino. That's a man. That's why That's why.
Also, I want to respond to you saying that I was hyperbolic when I talked about a reign of terror.
That is hyperbolic.
No, it might be hyperbolic for you as a white man.
Oh, okay.
It's certainly not hyperbolic for me as a Latino.
Now.
No.
Yeah. Well, stop shooting people. How about that? Was that okay? Stop importing gangs from all over Latin America, Democrats. That's not a race thing. That's a party thing. And really, that you don't have the kind of parties you used to have. It used to be different. And I don't think, maybe she doesn't know what the word hyperbolic means. That's a distinct possibility. It's polysyllabic, can be confusing for low IQ Democrats. Isn't that amazing? And it's Latinx. I would have corrected her, I think. It's Latinx, or as Joe Biden says, Latinx, because you're not only an ethnic group, you are bathroom tissue as well, that you might find at that detainment facility at the Alligator Alcatraz, where they have the potty thing, where you brush your teeth, where you poop. That's because that unit is from the same thing they put in Amtrak train cars, right? It's very convenient.
They brush their teeth where they poop.
Yeah. I wouldn't slander people. Is she saying that that's what Latinx do?
Latinx.
Amazing. So back to CNN last night. Because Ana Navarro, she's really racist, and she's really upset. And by the way, being Latinx is not a race. It's an ethnicity. You fall under the umbrella of Caucasian. And I'm Irish and Basque, my heritage, Irish and Basque. And the Basque people, terribly oppressed for centuries now. So I think I might have to start crying and sobbing and blow something up like a Democrat. But I won't, because my mother didn't raise a moron. Whereas Ana Navarro's mother, I think, probably raised a moron. And then here comes Abby Phillip, because, it's racist, and you have to call everybody racist.
All she's saying is that her view of the situation is different from yours. I don't think that's an insult.
She basically said, I'm wrong because I'm a white man.
She just said, I see it differently. She said, I see it differently from you, which is not an insult. It's not, and it's also not a racial insult.
It's also not a racial insult. So you're white, so you can't possibly understand what life is like in America for me, because I'm Latinx. Gesundheit. Amazing.
Latinx.
Aren't they amazing? Yeah, and yeah, so it's not a separate race. Being Latino is not a separate race. Being Hispanic is not a separate race. They'd like it to be, because they love racial division. That's who they are. Aren't they amazing? Wah, wah, wah. Yes, they are. All right, let's see. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to, I know you got another thing you want to get to. What did you want to get to? Oh, yeah, I apologize. Joyce Vance on MSDNC. I apologize. You're right about that, because it's the never-ending circle fest of victimology and victimhood. And MSDNC, also known as MS-13 DNC, Democrat Party front group, where the party pays millions of dollars to really mentally limited people like the Reverend Al Sharpton. And they've got a woman named Joyce Vance. Wasn't she on a 1950s TV show? Joyce Vance was there. And this is a great one. Yeah, now I remember this one. Now, when law enforcement arrests people that are doing illegal things, the Democrat Party cries, and they often set things on fire. They had a woman on MSDNC named Joyce Vance, and they make things up all the time. The federal law enforcement's been doing the same thing forever. Barack Hussein Obama, a jihadi in his own right, was called the deporter-in-chief. And if you look at by the leftist communists and anti-American pig dogs, and if you look at the numbers that President Trump has deported as president, that number pales in comparison to what Hussein Obama deported while he was president. But pay no attention to that. Joe Biden opened up our borders and let hundreds of millions of gang members only flow into the United States. I exaggerated the number, but only slightly. Let all these gangs flow into the country, and they gave them plane tickets and flew them around and gave them hotel rooms in New York. And, it's like they won a game show in Los Angeles. But here is Joyce Vance on MSDNC.
As we see people being pulled off the streets, the danger to law enforcement, quite frankly, is that when you're masked like that and people don't know who you are, Someone might exercise their lawful right of self-defense to protect themselves, thinking they're being kidnapped. So the notion that this is for law enforcement's protection is utterly ludicrous, and we need to do away with that.
Yeah, the law enforcement, because you've turned the country into a third world hellhole, which one thing they're effective at is damaging the United States of America and making it unrecognizable as the United States of America as a Western, first world country. Kidnap. So they've made up this fantastical fantasy land lie. And again, go back to Joseph Goebbels. A lie told once remains a lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth, at least in the eyes of the left, who, nobody's murdered more people than the left, and the left are here. And of course, Joyce Vance lives in a big house. I bet she's got an illegal alien or, maybe a legal alien doing slave labor at her house for a below minimum wage. I just bet that. I haven't checked that out, but I'm going to go ahead and bet $1 on that right now. Yeah, people pulled off the streets because they're wearing masks. Now, to the extent that federal law enforcement officers are wearing masks, we've discussed this, because the gangs that the Democrats flowed into the United States of America, these gangs in Mexico, the cartels and so on, they hunt down law enforcement that arrest them in Mexico. It's true in Colombia and a number of other Venezuela. And the criminals will hunt down law enforcement and kill their families, and they'll kill the law enforcement. And now we have those gangs here. And that's because of Joe Biden, who should get the Nobel Beep Prize. That's a curse word. And the Democrats, they created this situation in the United States, and then they attack law enforcement for adapting to the third worldness that the Democrat Party has imported to the United States. And, yeah, you're an illegal alien gang member in the United States, and you're working at a pot farm in California. The owner of the pot farm apparently gave $10,000 to Gavin Newsom, as a payoff, because we're a third world hellhole now. And they're being kidnapped. And these are the talking points of not some random fringe group. This is the mainstream of the Democrat Party. You're wearing masks. You're unmarked vehicles. They're not unmarked. Everybody knows what a cop car looks like. They all look the same. Got the flashing red and blue lights in the grill. They've got, they're like black war wagons, and the dudes jump out. And in the United States, we're not quite there yet, but the Democrats are saying we're just like any other third world Latin American or find another beep hole area of the world where the bad guys drive around in what look like police vehicles, and they jump out with rifles and masks and body armor, and they're kidnapping you. Well, those are the cartels you're describing. What we're talking about is federal law enforcement in the United States of America, held to the strictest, highest standards you're going to find anywhere. And they're kidnapping people. No, none of that is happening. But these are the Democrat Party's talking points. Womp, womp, womp. Isn't it amazing? Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, 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 bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. That's the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party should be banned in the United States of America. They should be sent to a third world country where there'd be more at home. They could get back to kidnapping people. They love... Joe Biden lost 300,000 illegal alien children. 300,000. That's like, a number much greater than the population of Santa Barbara, California. They lost 300,000 illegal alien children. Where are they? I assume the Democrats have them either sleeping in dog beds down by the water heater doing slave labor for them, or they're being sexually abused by Democrats, maybe on Martha's Vineyard, places like that. Aren't they amazing? And who's the victim here? Well, these millionaire women who have limousines take them everywhere. Oh, no, I'm a Latinx, and you're a white man. Yeah, better be careful. We're going to switch off the electricity. Latinx. Ah, yes. There's a new day. Nothing Can Change the Shape of Things to Come by Max Frost and the Troopers. I think that's pretty obscure enough. But it reminds me of the Democrat congressman from Florida, Max Frost, who's never heard of Max Frost and the Troopers, I'm betting. That's right, the shape of things to come. Christopher Jones, Wild in the Streets, all that good stuff. But that's not important now. And also, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? But that's another discussion for another day. But Max Frost, a radical extremist, terrorist, the Nazi, fascist, Hitler. These are just the words that we use now when we're talking about people in politics. He's a Democrat from Florida. He's a member of the House of Representatives. His name is Max Frost, and he's got nothing to do with the band Max Frost and the Troopers that did Nothing Can Change the Shape of Things to Come. But Max Frost was on, who was he on, DNC? Oh, he was on Stephen Colbert on CBS television network last night. And this is the propaganda that this house of ill repute spreads.
We have ICE federal agents pulling up, terrorizing our communities, hopping out of unmarked vans, stealing and, yes, kidnapping people, not giving them their day in court, and, yes, human trafficking them to other nations, other countries around the entire world.
Now, he used those words. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know what those words mean. But this is today's Democrat Party. None of this is true, but it is terroristic. It is inciting violence against federal law enforcement, which we've seen occur, being shot at with the intent of shooting them. They don't want to miss, but they're Democrats. And honestly, the Democrat Party is a threat to Western civilization in the United States. Their rhetoric is completely insane. And keep in mind, they're getting ready to fire on Fort Sumter again like they did all those years ago. And started the American Civil War because they wanted to keep their slaves back then. Now they want to keep their illegal aliens, which is really cheap labor that they don't have to care about. Abundant, cheap labor that they don't have to care about. Now, again, my name until I was 5 years old was Chris Orteig, O-R-T-E-I-G. And I used to get a lot of, what kind of name is that? Well, it's a Basque name, but that's not important now. And this race card stuff that the left likes play. And now the villains of the story are law enforcement, local law enforcement, federal law enforcement. These are not good people at all. Not good people. So, got to wrap it up here today. Am I going to see you in Iceland? Maybe I'll see you in Iceland. And maybe I won't. But I want you to have a great, great American Day.